Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you had a wonderful holiday and I hope that you are ready to take on the new year. Okay, so today we're going to look at the physical geo part of the syllabus, which is under hazardous environments, and we're going to be looking at cyclones, which are also known as hurricanes or typhoons, depending on which part of the world you live in. We're going to look at the structure of a hurricane or a cyclone or a typhoon. We're also going to look at how a cyclone forms. We're going to look at the factors that intensify a hurricane. Also going to look at the hazards and the effects of hurricanes, and we're going to take a look at the measures to take before, during, and after a cyclone. And then towards the end, I'm just going to give you a few tips. Okay, so above is just a sketch of what a cyclone looks like. So you have larger cumulonimbus clouds towards the eye, and the clouds become smaller as you move away from the eye. Your surface, basically the area that is occupied by the cyclone, is about 1,000 kilometers. The eye itself is 15 to 25 kilometers, and the eye is usually a place of clear skies, and the eye is a place of low pressure where we have air descending rather than rising. We're going to take a look at how a hurricane or a typhoon or a cyclone actually forms. So I'm going to split it into the requirements and then the actual process that has to occur in order for a cyclone to then be formed. So the requirements are a sea depth of 60 meters, a minimum temperature of 27 degrees Celsius, and usually hurricanes form in large bodies of water, so for example your seas or your oceans. Now that we've looked at the requirements needed, we're going to look at the actual formation of a hurricane. So at 27 degrees Celsius or at a higher temperature, your water heats up the air above it. The air above it becomes less dense than the surrounding air, and being less dense, it rises. As it rises, it cools, it expands, which results in the cooling, and eventually it reaches its condensation level where condensation takes place, and this is how we then have clouds forming. And with time, larger clouds are formed, more clouds are formed, and eventually it grows into a cyclone. As air rises, it leaves behind an area of low pressure, and this low pressure zone becomes the destination for surface winds, which basically means this is where surface winds are drawn to. Upon arrival, these surface winds are subject to centripetal acceleration, and this is what then results in the strong winds that are associated with hurricanes, and these winds are called cyclostrophic winds. Now we're going to take a look at the factors that may increase the intensity of a cyclone. Number one being condensation. As air rises, it condenses, and at condensation level, we have the release of latent heat. Latent heat allows for more air to rise, and this allows clouds to grow to greater heights, to greater sizes, and this also allows cyclones to sustain themselves. Number two being the descending air in the eye. As air descends, it warms adiabatically, and this provides heat which warms up the water further. As the water becomes warmer, it also heats up the air above it, and this allows for more air to be rising, and this deepens the low pressure, which results in the intensification of cyclones. Number 2 and 3 are similar. However, for number 3, the source of heat is condensation. Latent heat is released, and in the same way, it heats up the water. The water heats up the air above it. The air rises, and the low pressure is deepened, resulting in stronger cyclones. Lastly, we have the removal of air at the cloud top. This creates more room within the cloud, allowing for more air to rise. Some of the dangers associated with hurricanes include floods, storm surges, landslides, hailstones, lightning, and destructive winds, otherwise known as cyclostrophic winds. Some of the effects include people dying or people being left injured. We also have the destroying of homes or buildings in general, which also contributes to loss of life and injury. We have people becoming homeless and being displaced from their homes. We have the destroying of crops. We have the spread of diseases, for example, cholera. And we also have the loss of biodiversity, for example, our wildlife. Now we're going to take a look at some of the things that can be done before a cyclone occurs, as well as during and after a cyclone takes place. Before a cyclone occurs, the government should make an effort to invest in advanced technology, or at least advanced equipment, for example, geostationary satellites, which helps in the easier prediction of tropical cyclones. Safe zones should also be created. Evacuation efforts should be made before the cyclone hits. Homes should be made stronger and more resistant to cyclones. People should be advised and encouraged to conserve wetlands because wetlands act as buffers when flooding occurs. Search and rescue teams should be well trained and well equipped all the time. And finally, there should be a constant communication between the government and the people to ensure that the people and the government are on the same page. During and after a cyclone occurs, search and rescue teams should be active. Food aid is also very important, which helps in reducing the number of deaths associated with hunger. Shelters for the homeless should also be put in place. This takes into consideration those that have lost their homes. Medical aid is also very important. A clean supply of water is essential to reduce the number of diseases being spread. And research should be done, which is basically helping in trying to find suitable ways to deal with cyclones. Before I end this video, I just want to give you a few tips. My first tip being to always refer to specific case studies, and I'd advise you to look for detailed case studies, which helps in answering questions on effects or dangers or the formation of cyclones. My second tip would be to try and understand what you're learning, because cyclones actually happen in real life, and it's not just detail that you're learning, but it's something that actually happens in real life. So take time to understand the formation, take time to understand what you're learning instead of cramming. And my last piece of advice would be to constantly go over your notes. I think I've stated before, the more you repeat something, the easier it is for you to remember it. Which doesn't mean you should cram, but repeating what you've learned helps you to remember it. Feel free to like, share, and comment, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel.